I visit classes in the elementary school and high school 3 times a week here in my little town, and it's quite fun to listen to the questions of some of the children. I sing songs with them, we bring out my puppets, but they have some pretty complex questions, and one of the questions that I recently heard is, who created God? And how big is God? Wonderful questions. I'm sure you've asked the question, and maybe some of you just put it in the drawer and don't bother. But this Sunday, in the first reading from Isaiah, the question comes forth because Isaiah, young man, perhaps in his late teens, has a very powerful experience of the Lord. I remember having that several times through my own life, very powerful experiences of God that just awaken a sense of awe for the grandeur of God. And so Isaiah says he experienced the coming of the seraphim upon him, and he heard the crying, "Holy, holy, holy Lord, God of power and might." And Peter experiences that in the gospel this Sunday as well, when he sees the miraculous catching of the fish, and he's just overwhelmed by the glory of God. Holiness. God is holy, overwhelming, beyond anything we can imagine. Who made God? Well, nobody made God. God is eternal in every direction. God simply is. Nothing else is, but God is. God is holy. And what does holiness mean? It means a lot of things. It just means beyond anything we can imagine. It means utterly beautiful. God is utterly beautiful beyond anything beautiful we've ever seen or can imagine. And yet we've seen some beautiful things, but try to multiply by 1,000,000 the most beautiful things you've seen, and you see the beauty of God. God is noble, more noble than we can ever imagine. In his responses to us, there is magnanimity, this graciousness, well beyond anything we can imagine. Humility. God is the most humble of all beings. Never thought about that, eh? Eternal, utterly infinite. As Moses experienced with God at the burning bush, God says, "I simply am. I'm eternally being." So God is utterly simple and utterly complex beyond anything we can imagine. He wants to share his holiness with his creatures, and the experience of God awakens in us an utter sense of awe. I remember as a seminarian being in the chapel at 4 o'clock in the morning, just in silent prayer for a few hours, and suddenly being absolutely overwhelmed by the presence of the Lord, and felt like I got transported someplace. I just kind of disappeared for a while in this glorious, powerful experience of the numinous. It doesn't happen every day, but it's happened a few times in my life, and I'm sure it's happened in your life. In fact, most people have. They just didn't recognize that they'd touched something of the holiness of God. And that's what spurs on a life and a relationship with God. So I pray that as you go through your day and your week, that you may open yourselves to the numinous, the utter mystery of God. It's for that reason that prayer is not so much talking as being quiet and allowing the holiness of God to penetrate my being. And so I sit quietly and just allow and absorb the mystery of the one who simply is, who sustains all things in existence and is utterly beautiful, utterly noble, utterly beyond anything we can experience. And so the Bible speaks sometimes of a terrifying experience, not terror of fear, but terror of overwhelmed. May you be blessed in this day, blessed this week, with the overwhelming holiness of the Lord.